Hi, folks. Welcome to another episode of Finding Data Friends, where we've been lucky enough to find a new data friend to introduce.
I
Brad,
don't know.
welcome to
I
the
don't know
show.
where we
Thanks for
keep
joining
finding
us.
them.
They just keep
It's
popping up.
well, I was in the dumpster behind your house, Ben. I mean, to be fair, I was diving for running shoes, and you've got so many great running shoes.
There's that. I mean, I got Lego running shoes right behind me, so
Comfortable.
I tried those. It was very difficult to run on Legos.
don't run on Legos is probably the first. I'm not sure if it qualifies as a life hack, to be honest, but the first survival
it's a great
tip.
pro tip
There's
for
that.
the podcast.
So I'm
go-
very curious because, of course, in America we call it Legos, but outside of America, I've heard it pronounced as Lego. So Ben, how would you typically refer to it? Is it Lego or Legos?
I would probably go with singular. But
Singular.
Mm-mm.
I've heard
Okay.
myself say both, probably. So
Which is weird if you think about it, because outside of the US, it's maths. And in the US, it's math. But it makes a million times more sense to me that we call it maths because there are multiple disciplines within math that make up maths. I don't think that's why they call it maths, though. I don't know why they
It's
call
just
it that.
shortened from mathematics, right? It's just the first four letters.
I would like to think so, but I could be wrong. Who knows? All words are made up words.
It's true.
there's also that. Let us get back to the point where Brad introduces himself.
Good point. Brad, who are you? Tell the people who you are.
Existential questions. I love it. So my name is Bradley Ball. I work for Microsoft. I'm a senior Azure Fast Track engineer. What I do is I help people move on to Azure, but I also work with product groups very closely. I'm a PG buddy for folks with many different experiences. And then we partner with the product groups in many different ways to help be able to make content, build content, or evangelize whatever it is that we're working on at Microsoft.
Very cool.
I was going to say that's what I do now, but I guess the fun part is I started out my life in college as a developer. My first couple jobs outside of the professional world were as developers. I became an accidental DBA. One of the things that I found out was I really enjoyed DBA work. And I had a buddy one day, we were sitting there talking, and I was saying we should get some C# certifications. He said, no, man, we should get DBA certifications. And I said, why? And he goes, you know, all the DBAs make at least 25 grand more than we do a year. And I went, wow, those DBA certifications sound really great. And the job where I got the DBA certifications, of course, they didn't want to pay me more money. So they kept me as a developer, but I was doing all this great DBA work. So my first DBA job was as the lead database administrator for the Obama administration. For the White House. I remember that job because there's a crazy security clearance listed on there. And I called the recruiter and I said, what does the security clearance mean? And they went, well, if you want to know, you got to apply for the job. So I apply for the job and I'm driving down the road, going from home to pick up my boys from daycare, get a phone call and it says, hold for the office of the president. And I'm thinking, what did I just do? And then someone comes on the line and they start talking to me and they go, yeah, can you come in for an interview? Sure thing. Where do I need to go? The address is 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. I went, there's some little shack like right next to the White House where, you know, I'm going to like Bob's Beef Emporium or something like that. This is the White House. And she goes, yes, sir. And I went, okay, let's do that. So I did that job, which was absolutely fantastic. But that job led me to the community, which leads me to you great folks. There was a C-level executive coming through, shaking hands, kissing babies. And he comes up to people and he goes, what are you interested in? Said that to me. And I said, I'm a SQL DBA. I'm interested in SQL Server. I'd never heard of PASS. And somewhere out of the blue, 3 or 4 months later, they forward me an email that says, this is PASS and they're having their PASS summit. And here's the first 24 hours of PASS. Back in those days, they did the 24 hours, 24 contiguous hours. There was no money for a conference. I said to my boss, hey, if you let me go work from home, I'll answer any trouble ticket that comes up, but I will stay up all 24 hours. You got to let me stay home for 2 days because it would be dangerous to drive after this. But I will stay up all 24 hours. I will go to each of these sessions. And I was blown away and I was amazed. One point in time, I'm watching a live stream of the PASS summit. Somebody comes out on stage for Microsoft. They say, hey, here's the great new things we're putting in SQL Server 2008 R2. And I go, wow, that looks amazing. I don't know what that job is, but I'd love to do something like that one day. I leave there. I eventually go to Publix Supermarkets, which is down in Florida. And I'm working there. And it just so happens somebody who was working there was very involved in the community. I'm always reserving conference rooms, looking at the 24 hours of past sessions, how they apply to the business and what technological workloads we're doing. And one day I'm pulling people in and they look at me and they go, wow, if you really love 24 hours past this much, you must love a SQL Saturday. And I go, what's a SQL Saturday? He goes, well, they're actually having one this weekend in Orlando. And I remember going to that event, and I've seen multiple people describe it like this, but it's very true. It felt like coming home. Everybody was facing the same things I was facing. People were freely sharing this amazing information. And that's where I met some of the first people in the community. Somebody was presenting on something I knew really well, transparent data encryption. I'd used that a lot at the Office of the President. And I came up to them after a session and I said, oh, well, if you need to manage it, here's a script for managing certificates, and here's this, and here's a couple things to keep in mind, blah, 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 blah. And they go, hey, dude, look, I just read the white paper. It sounds like you should really make a presentation on this. I can't remember who that person was, but I remember I was blown away. And I thought, okay, I'm going to start going to all these SQL Saturdays. I'll become friends with the organizers. I'll figure out what it is I got to do, submit. Maybe if I'm lucky, in 2 or 3 years, I'll get to do a presentation. I had no idea that the whole purpose of SQL Saturday was to grow the next generation of SQL Saturday speakers. So the very first one I submit to, of course, I get into, and I'm shocked and amazed. And that first year opened up so many wonderful doors for me. I ended up speaking at SQL Rally. I ended up going to the PASS Summit, talk on page and row compression, met the engineer who developed page and row compression for Microsoft, met a lot of people from Pragmatic Works. They asked me to join Pragmatic Works, became an MVP over there. And then my good buddy, Jorge Segura, he left Pragmatic Works, went to Microsoft. He was constantly calling me up going, Brad, Microsoft's great. Come join Microsoft. And eventually I went, okay, Jorge, tell me more about this Microsoft place. And I am here today because somebody sent me an email and I had just fallen in love with the data community. So yeah, that's
wild,
really the
isn't it?
story of why I'm here. Yeah.
That's cool. Well, I was going to say, I think we're going to change the format of the podcast for the next half into a quick fire round. Okay.
You got it.
What people don't know is that before we started recording, Brad was like, I have no idea how we're going to do all that in 15 minutes. And I'm slightly getting a grip of what he meant by that.
Yeah. Well, so you've had a few years of experience now in the data community and doing all kinds of data things, but do you have a favorite data thing from all those disciplines?
A favorite data thing. The first technology I ever fell in love with really was SQL Server. As much as I love, and I'm doing a ton of stuff with Fabric right now, I am always going to come back to SQL Server. It is really that first technical love. You always remember the first thing that kind of bites you and goes, I want to learn about this, but it makes you feel capable. I think of it as playing sports as a kid. I played a lot of European football, soccer as a kid, and you never forget the first time that you kick the ball. It goes in the net. That feeling that you scored a goal is amazing. And I feel like, as frustrating as SQL can be at times, there's so many times you use it and you go, oh my God, I did this. This is amazing. It's wonderful. And you feel ecstatic about using it. So SQL is always going to be my first love, I think, when it comes to technology.
We appreciate that. We love the SQL Server answers.
Yep.
Absolutely.
It's also the only valid answers for any future guests on this podcast. People are always like, there is no wrong or right answer. Yes, there is. There is.
Yeah, there is. Oh, there's always a wrong answer. It's not SQL.
We have our favorites.
We totally. You could also have. We're fine with connecting it with modern stuff like SQL in Fabric. Would have been okay. Nobody would ever say that because then I'm like, okay, show me a truncate, and you're going to be like, yeah, well, meh. But anyway,
database mirroring is really cool. I do love database mirroring in Fabric, and I'm very excited about so many things that I can't talk about, but are going to be wonderful when it comes to the Fabric Summit coming up in Stockholm pretty soon. That's going to be just a lot of great stuff.
That will actually be 2
Nice.
weeks from now. So I can't wait for all of
Ooh,
these
real soon.
fancy announcements.
Ooh, that's going to be fantastic. People need to stay tuned. There we go. A lot of stuff will be hitting the blogosphere then.
Nice. So when you're not joining podcasts and when you're not running SQL, well, potentially running SQL Saturdays would probably count. But anyways, what I'm going with is in this fire round, which I'm doing a horrible job on because my fire round question is becoming a fire round book. What's your favorite non-data thing to do?
I love spending time with my family. We live in Central Florida, moved here for a reason, lived all over the US. I absolutely love Disney theme parks, Universal theme parks. I love riding roller coasters. I love fireworks at night. Our house is actually so close to Disney. I'm very, very blessed, but I get to walk outside and I can see the fireworks every single night from the Magic Kingdom.
Oh,
So
that's cool.
just like hands down, being here and being so local, we'll have a season pass, but my wife and I get to go take a date night. We'll go walk around Epcot. We won't even do any rides. We'll just go to the different food stalls, have kind of a small plate tapas dinner, keep walking, watch the fireworks at the end of the night, head to the car. And that is just a beautiful day and evening. The kids get to take them to the water park. We'll ride some rides early. And they all love roller coasters. So it's always been one of my favorite things to go and be a roller coaster buddy with my kids.
That's awesome.
I think Brad also prepared a perfect segue there.
He did, which is perfect because you mentioned Epcot and all of the little food vendors and things there. But what is your favorite food?
Oh, just this one's impossible. I mean, it
Hardest
really is.
question. I know.
I love so much food. Right now, I think the thing that I love the most, that I'm cooking at home the most, is I love a good deep fried Brussels sprout. As a kid, I
Nice.
was abused. My mom would make these microwaved or boiled Brussels sprouts, made the whole house smell like dirty socks. I was the kid that would sit at the table and I would not eat them. One day she said, "Well, if you don't eat them, you've got to go to bed right now." I think she thought that was a threat. I went, "Let me get this straight. I don't eat these Brussels sprouts. I go to bed right now." And she goes, "That's right." I went, "Yep." And I just got up from the chair,
Good
went
night.
and got my jammies on. I was like, "Good night, everybody. I don't have to eat them when I wake up." That works for me. That's a magic act. Let me make these Brussels sprouts disappear. I went to Miami and I had them at a fusion restaurant though, and I didn't want them. I tried to get something else, and they said, "Look, people come in, they crave these things, they get them in mass. If you don't like it, we'll give you anything else you want for free." And I went, "I'll give that a try." And it was one of the best flavors I've ever had before in my life. So right now, I have them. I deep fry them in peanut oil. I pull them out. I put a little bit of smoked sea salt on top of it, and then I put aged balsamic vinegar and aged soy sauce. Toss them around, and it is just like beautiful, wonderful green fiber candy.
If that's, I'm gonna try just exactly that. What we usually do is cut them in half, so you basically get those semi globes or whatever you want to call them, and then caramelize them with either honey or might probably also use maple, anything like that, just in a regular pan. Add some red onions to it. It's amazing.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'll send you a link later, but there's a specific soy sauce I use on salt, fat, acid, heat. They go to a soy factory where it's all handmade and they age the soy for 3 to 4 years. Amazingly, you can buy it on Amazon. It's like 30-40 bucks a bottle, but it's a really big bottle and you only put it on good stuff, right? Really good sushi. You don't use it to marinate stuff. You can get the regular store, but I did not realize that regular store brand soy sauce only is marinated for I think 3 to 6 months versus this 3 to 4 year, and it just adds so much flavor to it. It's really exceptional.
Interesting.
I never thought of that, but it makes perfect sense because I mean, same balsamic vinegar. You can get the 1 month old or the 50-year-old, and yeah, there is a slight difference in flavor intensity.
It is so day and night. The first time I had aged balsamic, it was on a cruise ship for my wedding, and I remember asking the waiter to come back, and I said, "What is this?" And they let me take a picture of it. I went back once again, found it on Amazon, and I'm able to get it. So every so often, my wish list is like, soy sauce and then balsamic vinegar, and then the same thing over and over again. They don't have a lot of suggestions for me.
Perfect.
He's not just messing with the algorithm. He really likes that stuff. Just for the record,
I do.
Jeff Bezos, if you're watching, this is what's happening here. He's not messing with your data.
I knew he was following me. That's yeah.
Well, I was
Makes
kind
a
of
lot of
assuming
sense.
he was one of our followers for this podcast, but he might also
Yeah,
be following
totally.
you. He might
It makes a lot of
just be a
sense.
mutual follower / fan.
What do you think his fake screen name is?
I'm not sure. I want to know.
I heart books.
Probably. But then again, I'm not sure he would agree to that. So, anyways, we are at time.
Wow,
We did good.
this flew by. Thank you both so much for having me.
It was our pleasure. Honestly, again, this is. I mean, I kind of had a feeling this would happen before, but this is one of the episodes where we could keep going for hours and hours, and it would still be fun. But we can't because the rules say 15 minutes, and we don't make the rules, so we just got to stick to them. That's
just follow them.
The German me says.
We do our best.
If there's a rule, we do what the rule says. With that, Brad, thank you so much for joining us. This was a lot of fun. Thank you, Jess. Thank you, everyone, for watching. And we see you all next week with yet another friend. Bye.
Bye, folks.